Good evening and welcome, one and all, to PACIFIC414 episode review. Tonight, I am filling my obligation as to watching The Reigns of Power, and I will be watching the third episode of Amazon Studios, Amazon Prime's The Lord of the Rings, The Reigns of Power. And tonight of this episode is called Adar. Now, I'm going to be honest with you all. I never promised I would hold back my opinion on this series as I'm watching it live or as I'm giving my reviews. So if I make any quips or say something about a certain scene as I'm watching it, that's my opinion. And if I see something I like, I'm going to point it out that there are things I like. I may do it during my live reaction when the episode starts, or I may wait and do it during the review portion. But overall, my thoughts on this series so far after episodes 1 and 2 is it doesn't grab me like the films did. Granted, I didn't go see the films when they first came out. The first one, Fellowship of the Ring, came out 20 years ago. And I didn't see that one right away. I didn't see the Two Towers right away. I didn't see Return of the King right away. I didn't see them all until last year. And against everybody's recommendation, watch the theatrical version first and then watch the extended cut. My mindset was like, well, if everybody raves about the extended cut, I might as well go into the deep end of the pool and jump in and watch the extended version. So that's what I did, and I enjoyed it. But with this series so far, with the first two episodes, it just didn't grab me. Maybe I'll see something in this third episode I like, and maybe by the end of this episode, I may decide, you know what, I'll continue to watch this. But it's up to me. It's up to how I view the episode. You know what I see, what I like, what I don't like, things I might have changed myself. But I did say on Pop Talk on the Sunday edition several weeks ago I would watch 3 episodes. I would do it live, and right now, you're all here to watch me do it. Some may say, you know, just give it a fair chance, a fair look, and that's what I am trying to do. Even though I will admit, last week I made some quips. I mocked it, but I will try to approach it with an open mind as I tried to approach last week's 2 episodes, and I will give you my thoughts. You'll again hear my thoughts as I'm watching this, and then I'll put it all together for the review. And for anybody who doesn't want to be spoiled, don't worry. The review portion will be separated and uploaded as a separate video. So you can watch that later. And I'll make sure after this video has finished processing that I put the link to the review portion into the area right up there or right up there. Yeah. Point in the right direction, Mike. But anyways, before I get underway with this, Kathy Skywalker is here, and she says hello there. She also says Onion Reigns of Power. And then we also have Brandon Looney Tune Fans 2000 who says hello. Kathy is saying hi back. Brandon is currently at 794 subs. He's only 6 away from 800. That's awesome. And even Kathy says that's great. Well, you can only hope, Kathy. You can only hope that maybe this episode will be better. So let's go ahead and get underway. And as you know, I can't show you any of the episode as I'm watching it because of, copyright claims and copyright strikes. Heck, even showing a clip from Deep Space Nine during this past Thursday's Star Trek stream. I did get a copyright claim on that, but it wasn't a thing where I had to remove it. I actually looked at the little message that was there with the copyright claim, and it says that the owner of the clip is actually allowing the clip to be shown, and it's not going to harm my channel. So, you know, I'll take what I can get. Whether it stays that way, who knows? You know how people change their minds, corporations change their minds. So we shall see. So let's go ahead and get underway with this episode. Hit and play now. Get the Amazon Prime Video logo. And now we're getting a recap of the first two episodes, it looks like. And of course, with the recap, we're seeing Nora and her friend, and we're seeing Galadriel, we're seeing Eridan. Of course, now we're getting the intro. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip the intro, even though I'll admit the intro music isn't too bad. It's nothing like the feature films score, but this intro music isn't too bad. Uh, so if anybody wanted to know a positive right now, the theme music, it's not too bad. Again, it's not like the feature films, but it's not too bad. Okay, so how's this one gonna start? Okay, we're seeing the leaf that we saw in the last episode. Oh, this looks troublesome. Eridan's not looking too well. Yeah, it is something, Kathy. Nighty night. Yeah. He's in a labor camp. An orc labor camp. And now we see Galadriel. All right. Good evening, Phil. Well, Kathy can tell you right now, the one thing I am liking about the series is the opening theme music. Let me see. I might have missed where it said that they were. Let me go back a little bit to see if it pops up. Okay, they're a Numenor. Yep. You gotta take some of the positives with the negatives. Have a good night, Phil. Hey, I'm gonna go back. I want to look at something real quick. Come on. I just wanted to look at something again. Just brought it back a little bit because I want to look at something real quick. That is the nice thing about having this available to stream instead of watching it on regular TV. Good evening, Gap. How are you doing tonight? I'm sorry, Galadriel's too tall to be an elf. Nice. Oh, by the way, I enjoyed that little theme song of yours. Well, that's what counts. You had fun making it, and yeah, you had fun. But isn't that part of life? Yes, do what you need to do as far as it comes to work and everything, but in your personal life, have fun. Can't be boring all the time, can it? I will say, Numenor doesn't look too bad. And now the crowd is all on a hush because of Halbrand. If you can't beat that, Kathy. Anytime you can find a movie for free, that's a great deal. I've had that happen. I don't blame you. Uh-huh. Yeah, he's not gonna let her keep her sword. The queen named Meryl doesn't like Gladriel that much, but can't blame her. Yeah, I've heard a few people already say that. I was trying to avoid as many spoilers as I could. So now we're getting a flashback sequence of the captain of the sailing ship that took Halbrand and Galadriel to Numenor. Huh. This overhead shot looks like my 10-second countdown. Okay, I come. How are you doing tonight? We see a love interest. Wow, dude. Really? You bypassed her for the horse. I mean, nothing against horses, but come on, dude. Oh, she's a sister. Okay, never mind. Not gonna understand. Ooh, yeah, yeah. It can definitely be difficult. I mean, You could sleep wrong and wake up one morning and you're not able to turn your neck to the left or to the right. The queen's not too happy with Eladrill. I mean, Elendril. I'll probably be saying these names wrong, but I'm not doing it on purpose. Ooh. Hmm. Yeah, that's tough. I've had it happen to me a few times before. I can remember one time in high school, I woke up one morning and I had a stiff neck and couldn't move it to the left, and it made it interesting when somebody was on my left or coming up behind me, and I had to turn myself all the way around just so I could look at them. Eventually, it got better, and poor orc doesn't like the sun. Oh, oh. And I know a few other times, it's happened to me. The only way I could get my, head to turn to the left, and it was just one of those things where I had to apply a little bit of pressure on it just so I can look at somebody. Oh yeah, these orcs, they mean business. Yeah, that's the best option. Read the books or watch the Peter Jackson films. Heck, even watch the Ransom Bass animated one. That works, taunting them with water. Yeah, I've heard people say that Blue Emu's pretty good, and anytime my back's been sore or even my neck's been sore, I've used a little bit of icy hot. Now, granted, like you're saying with Blue Emu, it doesn't do the hot and then the cold, but It's worked in the past. Whoa! That orc just sliced his throat. Yep, that's how my mom was. Sorry, dude. Now Arendar is gonna cut down a tree because the orcs just killed one of the workers because they wouldn't cut down the tree. And now the orcs are cheering because he's chopping down the tree. And there's Galadriel. Yeah, but, if you still have two different boxes of the extended cut and you're enjoying them, and this is just my thought on it, you don't really need to buy the Blu-rays. I mean, I have movies that are still the DVD copies. Heck, some of the movies that you can't even get on DVD and Blu-ray, I have them on VHS, and I still have a VCR to watch them. Yeah, you're tough, Galadriel. Okay, so Ellen Drill can speak Elvish. Mhm. I am gonna check out Stranger Things. I've been one of those people that doesn't jump on the bandwagon right away. I mean, heck, it took me almost 20 years to watch the Lord of the Rings movies. Oh, now she's on a horse. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you get used to watching a certain cut of the movie, and it's like with Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I prefer the director's cut over the theatrical version. Hallenbrand's now talking to the local blacksmith. And now Hallenbrand's at a tavern and he's eating some oysters. Yeah, that's understandable there. Yeah, that's the best place to find them. And I mean, if you know where to look, I've even seen on Amazon you can find VHS players and commonly known as VCRs. All right, so now Halbrand's trying to make peace with those who don't like him. Yeah, and you never know. You might even go to a yard sale and they might even have some old VHS tapes. Well, so much for Halbrand leaving the tavern unscathed. And we got this gang of goons. Too bad they're not Johnny Lawrence. Strike first, strike fast, no mercy. Which I have watched the first 3 episodes, and gotta say I'm enjoying it so far. And I do plan to do reviews of the episodes. We got a brawl going on. A few punches in the face, punches in the chest, kick to the groin, broken arm. Now they're drawing their swords. And now Halbrand's mentioned his name. And now the guards are there. So we know who's going to the dungeon. Now Galadriel is signing some sort of document. Okay, so they're in a records room. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you see at least hundreds, maybe thousands of scrolls. Not bad. Yeah, there was a sword fight, and a few guys got slammed into the stone wall until the guards came. And I was expecting to hear bad boys. And now we're seeing the same mark as we've seen before. The same mark that was on the broken sword that Theo was holding up. And yep. And they're talking about Sauron. And now we're getting an overhead view of the map. And now we're in a forest. And I'm guessing this is some sort of festival or something because everybody's in costume. And yeah, the Hardfoots. Yeah, he does look like Eminem. That's what it looked like. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure somebody's gonna clip it at some point if they haven't already and make a meme out of it. And now we see Nori. Poppy doesn't want to help. Yeah, and I say that this giant is Gandalf. Even though they said Gandalf would never appear, I've heard that before. Alex Kurtzman said the same thing when Star Trek Discovery premiered that we'd never see Spock or the Enterprise. And what did we end up seeing in the last episode of season one? We ended up seeing the Enterprise, and then in the next season, we saw Pike and Spock. Nora, you better get out of there. And now I'm getting Back to the Future Part 2 vibes. When Marty's in Principal Strickland's office trying to get the almanac. Yeah, I'm sorry. Who would buy this? Poppy's trying to give Nora directions on which side the papers that they want are on, and she's going left, left. No, your other left. It's like, come on, tell me the guy's not going to catch on. Yep. Okay, so now we're learning the names of all the Hartfoots that were left behind on journeys to different lands, different homes. And now we see what they're saying isn't Gandalf, but I'm saying he is Gandalf. Until they say his name, who he actually is, I'm gonna call him Gandalf. I know. What is Kane showing up? Through fire and brimstone, it's Kane! Oh my god! Supposedly not Gandalf. Well, he got the paper too close to the fire, and I bet the village is gonna burn down. I just see it. It's being destroyed, that's for sure. At least partially. I'm sorry, this guy can't do anything. Well, Nori, your secret's out. He spoke a word. He was lost, hurt. What was I supposed to do? And not Gandalf as Snow White. Well, the Hartford Elder has spoken. Nor I can go with them, but she's gonna hold up the rear. She does. Yep. Leaves the stars reach down and touched her, and this is her destiny. Or, or is it her density? Yes, another Back to the Future reference. At least I made that one. Oh yeah, there's plenty. There's more than enough. It's time to pack, Nori. Nope. I'm right there with you. I'm gonna be at the front lines. And now we're getting a puppet show. Not a very good puppet show, but a puppet show nonetheless. The Hardfoots are going off to the hills, probably the green hills that we see in the movies. Granted, this show and the movies aren't really related, so Nora has to hold up the rear because she brought in not Gandalf. Okay, so we find out that in a flashback again. Oh, geez, where have I heard that? Let the past die. Instead, in this case, they're saying the past is dead. We either move on or die with it. There's nothing wrong with learning from the past. All right, so the captain is talking to his kids. And, yeah, right. Yes, Dad. I'll be on the ship. And the daughter is made apprentice. Flashback, flashback. That's right. I'm sorry. That was one of the sorriest puppet shows I'd ever seen. And now Galadriel is talking to Halbrand in prison. I can't say anything. I fidget too, especially when I'm anxious about something. So Halbrand's the king. Hey, Crit. It, I gotta admit, it's not too bad. It, it's a little better than the first two, but I'm still not crazy about the show, to be honest with you, brother. But I'm sitting here, I'm watching, and just gonna be perfectly honest right now. I don't know if I'm gonna continue with it, and if I do, I might wait for the other episodes to come out and then talk about it at some point. But we'll see. We gotta get there first. Okay, so Galadriel's trying to persuade Halbrand to come to Middle Earth. Excuse me. Yeah, I know. I was saying that during my turtle stream. I know. Oh, the queen's not happy. Now we're back with the Hartfoots, and they're on their journey. And Norad's father isn't doing too well. Oh, no wonder the card's heavy. Not Gandalf is in it. And he spoke a word to Nori. Friend. Well, of course. The music in this episode hasn't been bad either. And that's one thing about me. I've always, been one of those people. Yes, I enjoyed the story, I enjoy the characters, but the music plays a part in any TV show or movie as well. And now there's an uprising at the labor camp. And now the elves are trying to break their chains. Oh, that elf's gone. Axe to the back. And Aridid, well, saves the day. And the orcs aren't too happy because the sun is burning their skin. Release the what? Oh, that looks like a friendly creature. Although I gotta admit, the CGI for the creature looks pretty bad. Ooh. And we get some Matrix stunts. Free yourself. Go. I'll stay behind. Nah. And now the creature's dead. And so is Aaron's buddy. He's dead. Spear to the chest. No, bow to the chest. Bow and arrow. And we're gonna find out who Adar is. And it's a dark, gloomy area. Let me guess, Adar's Soren. They're not letting you see. They kept the picture out of focus. All right. So that concludes episode 3 of The Rings of Power. Adar. It was just a blurry image. Blurry image on screen. So, you know, you already know because I already said it at the beginning when I felt about the first 2 episodes. Now, as far as this episode is concerned, we pick up with Halbrand and we also pick up with Galadriel. They're on the ship and they're being taken to Mirador. There, we meet Queen Muriel, and she's surprised to see an elf because apparently the elves and the people who live in this area, well, they didn't depart on good terms. So she's not happy to see Galadriel. Of course, Halbrand does try to speak up. It goes pretty much nowhere. And We also catch up with Aaron, and that's what I'm going to call him. I know it's Aaron Deal, sorry, but I'm going to call him Aaron just to make it a little easier on myself. And he has been taken prison by the orcs, and he's placed in a labor camp. And in this labor camp, there are other elves. So, of course, they're digging, they're chopping. They have to chop down a tree at one point, which the elves refuse to do it. Of course, the orcs don't care. They're like, "You're gonna chop down that tree." So we have that going on, and it comes down to one of the elves being killed. His throat is cut, and that persuades the elves to cut down the tree. Then we go back to Galadriel and Hollenbrand, and Hollenbrand's at this tavern. You know, he's there. He's talking to a few of the local people at this tavern. They're eating oysters. They're drinking ale, and Halbrand, tries to make peace with some of the people who are at this tavern because they know him. They know him because he's from this area where he and Galadriel are. And what ends up happening is, these guys get up, they approach him, and then to make peace with them, he says, "I'll buy you a round of drinks." And just when he thinks he's in the clear and he can leave, these same guys eventually go to find him and they beat the snot out of him. And of course, the guards come and they arrest him, they throw him in jail. There's even a scene later on in the episode where Galadriel talks to him while he's in the dungeon. Excuse me, I think I'm going to sneeze. Let me just hold real quick. Okay, it's nothing right now. But, anyways, reason why she goes to see him in the dungeon is because at one point she is given permission to go to this area's Hall of Records, and you see scroll upon scroll upon scroll. And she finds the scroll that she needs because it has the Mark of Sauron. And she tells him, and by him, Halbrand, that she has the paperwork and, of course, the mark. And, of course, they both know they have to leave. Of course, Queen Muriel's not too happy about that. She's not even too happy about Galadriel being there because of past relationship with the elves. And she says the prophecy has happened. The elves are here. So there's this prophecy apparently forecasting doom when the elves arrive. And then what ends up happening is we catch up with the Hardfoots, and of course, Norai and Poppy are talking. They're there with not Gandalf, and what we learned. Excuse me. Excuse me. There's that sneeze. Sorry. I'll make sure to edit that part out. But anyways, we're back with Norai, Poppy, and not Gandalf. Thank you. And they're getting ready to go on their journey to go to the Shire. That's what I'm guessing it is. They're going to the Shire, and of course, they're talking about this journey coming up. And let me just real quick. Eh, Well, that could be a possibility too. Crit. It could turn out to be Sauron in disguise, or Sauron, pretending to be their friend, and then when he gets what he wants, he puts a knife in their back. But anyways, Poppy and Norai are trying to find this paperwork that has the stars that, and I'm just saying it again because we haven't been given the guy's name yet, not Gandalf. But anyways, there's this piece of paper and it has the stars that the fireflies from episode 2 formed. And, you know, not Gandalf is found out, and the tribe leader, before he's even found out, when he when not Gandalf comes to the village, the tribe leader is reading off a list of names of those who unfortunately perished and how they perished. Some perishing due to a rock slide, some perishing because of a severe snowstorm, some perishing because of wolves, and some perishing because of bad health. So they're reading off the names, and of course, not Gandalf shows up, and they find out that it was Nori who was the one who was attending to him and helping him heal. And their normal rule of thumb is you can't go with us. But the leader of the Harfoots decides she can go. Her family can go, but they're going to hold up the rear. So then we get back to Aaron and the rest of the elves who are in the labor camp. They try to make a break for it when an opportunity presents itself. And this weird looking creature, and I'm sorry, but the CGI wasn't done very well. But this weird looking creature comes up, and I'm just gonna say it's a rabbit dog, and starts going after the elves. It starts eating, their arm, and it starts eating their intestines, and you do see blood. A few of the elves try to escape, and then they're killed. Of course, Arendelle does manage to get rid of this creature. He tries to make a run for it, but of course, he's still chained up, and he sees his one friend who was helping him out manage to escape, except there's a little catch. His friend turns around. He has not just one arrow in his chest, but he has two arrows in his chest. He falls down. The orcs throw up another chain, and it wraps around Aaron, and it pulls him down. So Aaron there is just about to be beheaded when you hear a voice off screen say, "Wait, let's take him to Adar." And we don't actually see Adar, but we see the orcs kneeling down and going, "Adar, Adar, Adar." And that is where the episode ends, but also there is another thing I want to touch on with the Hardfoots. There's a point in the episode where we see Norai and her family, holding up the rear, and her father's struggling to move the cart. Norai is struggling to move the cart, and Poppy is in front of them. Poppy sees that they're having a tough time moving the cart, so she goes to assist them. Of course, they tell her, "No, you don't want to be left behind." Well, we find out why the cart's so heavy, because not Gandalf, again, because we don't know his name yet. We haven't been given his name yet. Is in the cart. So all of its weight is what's making it a an easy task to go through this trail and go through the mud and everything. So that's just some of the things that went on in this episode. I don't want to, reveal every single last bit of what went on in this episode because I don't know which one of you is intending on actually watching this. Crit, I know you are, and I know you have your opinion of the show. You happen to like it, and I would love to hear your opinion on this episode once you see it. We don't necessarily have to compare notes, but I still want to hear your thoughts on it. But overall, from what I saw, I've got to be honest. I'm going to be fair. This episode, out of a scale of 5, It's not a 3, it's not a 4, it's not a 5, but I will give it a 2.5. It was better, but still, I know one thing for me, it's the fact that I can't separate what I saw in the movies to what I'm seeing in this. I'll admit that right here, right now. I'm having a hard time separating what I consider the pinnacle of movie making, especially when it comes to adapting a book to a film, to what I'm seeing in The Reigns of Power. So I will give this episode a 2.5. It had some things I did like, and a lot of that did have to do with the CGI scenery of Narendor, and then of course the music wasn't too bad at all. The theme, hearing it before episode 2 last week and hearing it before this week's episode, it wasn't bad. So you know, I'll take whatever little positives I can get. It's either a half glass empty type of thing or a glass half full type of thing. Well, right now the glass is maybe 2/4 of the way full. So honestly, that is what I thought of the episode. And I'm gonna go ahead and read some of your comments. Let's see. You guys are talking about donuts. Okay. I know Gap, and I know some people are gonna say, but last week you gave the first 2 episodes combined a 1.5. You know what helped it? The music. I like the music, and because of the music, I'm giving it a 2.5. But I do have to be honest, even with this week's episode being at a 2.5, I don't see myself continuing on with the series. Might go back at some later date and watch the rest of the episodes, but I really don't see myself continuing with the series. I watched it, I gave it a chance, but I'm just not that enthusiastic about it. And let's see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Boston cream, glazed, sprinkles, grillers, heck, all of them. Yeah. Donuts, oh, let's get some donuts and let's get some onion rings. That's what this show does. It makes you start talking about food and food that looks like rings. Heck, get curly fries in there too. Yeah, yeah. See, I am gonna talk about that. Well, I'm here live, and you're all here watching this. I don't feel that it's good business practice for any company, regardless of who they are, to attack their customers. Mm-mm. People don't like the show. Fine. Well, guess what? I've bought products before from Amazon where I thought this could be, great. It's going to help me do what I needed to do. And it didn't. It broke after the second use. And what was that product? Well, recently I had to get a PTO cable for my riding lawnmower. In the second use, it broke. It broke. So Even though I didn't want to, I went to another company and ordered the part. It was a little more expensive, but a lesson was learned. Here I thought I was getting a bargain on Amazon. It was exactly what I needed. It was the right fit for my riding lawnmower, but no, only 2 uses? Come on, do better, do better. And I've even had times where I've ordered something and it hasn't come, and they've questioned me saying, "Are you sure it didn't come? Are you sure you didn't receive it?" I'm all, "Yeah, I know I didn't receive it because it's not at my front door." And one of the items was, well, this mic I'm using right now. This mic I'm using right now wasn't at my front door. They delivered it to another house, to another house with the same house number. And luckily, the person was familiar with the area and they delivered it to me. So kudos to that person for delivering it to me. And I know that that's not really Amazon's fault, but it was more on the fault of the UPS driver. But still, I needed this mic so I could do content because my previous mic died on me. But I'll give you a perfect example. A perfect example. Before I got the computer that I have now, I had ordered a laptop that met all the specifications I was looking for. Wasn't looking for anything, too fancy, but just enough where I could edit videos and also do a little bit of gaming. As far as streaming the games, it would have been a little difficult to do so because the laptop wasn't powerful enough, but I was buying what I could afford. And they advertised it as being 2 terabytes and, of course, having, you know, a few programs pre-installed on it. And I get the laptop, I open it up, I plug it in, I fire it up, and I'm looking, and, you know, I go down to my computer and I'm checking the hard drive. I'm going, wait a minute. This is only a 500 gigabyte SSD. This is supposed to be 2 terabytes. And I checked the box to make sure that I didn't miss anything. That maybe that SSD was actually in a separate box, and maybe all I had to do was remove a bottom cover, pop it in, and I'd be good to go. Or even just take the laptop apart, depending on how I had to approach it, and put the SSD in. Nope, that wasn't the case. So that very same night, I hopped back on my computer, which was dying, and that's why I needed to replace it. But I hopped on there. I contacted Amazon and the company that was selling it through Amazon. And I said, "We got a problem here. I ordered a 2 terabyte laptop, and you guys sent me a 500 gigabyte laptop." And they questioned me. They're all, "Are you sure?" So I was smart enough before I even logged on to grab my phone, took some pictures, and yes, there is something Cubs related on my phone. No surprise there, right? But grabbed my phone, took the picture showing how many gigabytes of SSD I had, and I sent it to him, and they shut up real quick. Shipped it off, and I was able to get my money back. And, a few friends of mine have had bad experiences. My own family has had bad experience. Everybody has a bad experience with the store. I get that. Whether you're shopping online, whether you go into a store and maybe you run into an employee who isn't having a good day. But, to criticize people because they don't like a show because it's not engaging them, which is what a show should do. It should be able to pull you in. And when a show doesn't do that, when this show wasn't doing that in episode 1 for me, or even in episode 2, is it my fault? No. We all have our own taste. We all have our own likes. We all have our own dislikes. But it's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's the fault of the manufacturer. In this case, Amazon, Amazon Studios is the manufacturer of this product we're getting. And in my opinion, it's not very good. It's not very good. And, for anybody who wants to say, oh, you're not giving it a fair chance, understand this. I have a thing that I've always done with a new television show. And it's something that I'm doing even more now that I'm on YouTube is I give a series a 3-episode chance. If I'm not hooked after that 3rd episode, then I don't bother watching it anymore. And that's how I approach it here. If I'm not hooked by the 3rd episode, then I'm not going to watch. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I'll give you an example of a series where I almost gave up on it entirely before the 3rd episode, and that was Peacemaker. But I watched the 3rd episode. I actually found a lot of things in that 3rd episode I liked. So I continued with it. 4th episode was okay, but there was still enough for me to go back and watch episode 5, episode 6, episode 7, and 8 were probably the best 2 episodes of the 1st season of Peacemaker. So I am willing to give something a chance, but Cub fan or not, I know what I said last week. I'm a Cub fan. I've seen a lot of BS. I can put up with a lot of BS, but even I have my limits. Go ahead and read your comments. All right. Gab is saying he didn't receive it because it ended up in the ditch in Los Angeles on his way from the trains. Uh, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of people who would have seen, hey, this is a Blue Yeti mic. I'll keep it. But no, this person actually looked at the address and drove it here and dropped it off. And Bucky says, when people order things, it might just be for fun, but it might be for their livelihood. It's not up to them to decide what's important. Exactly. And yeah, when it came to that laptop, that is quite a difference. And let's see. It's not necessarily about the bad experience, it's how they handle it after. Yeah. Anybody who's worked in retail, you know how hard it is to work with the public. And it's all about the customer experience, how you treat the customer as to whether or not they're going to want to come back and shop at that store again. And even if they do, and you give them a bad experience, they may not want to deal with you. They may want to deal with somebody else. I mean, I know from my own experience working in retail, there were customers that would come in, they would either ask for me or 2 other guys in the department I worked in. And if we weren't there, they didn't want to deal with anybody else. Gap says, I just got some action figures, but they're sold out, and I just threw them in the box and they were damaged, so I have to keep them. That sucks. Bucky is saying, we just got a weed eater from Home Depot, opened it, it was broken. We took it back. They gave us a new one, no problem. They were very polite. I will continue to do business with them. Yeah, companies you have good experiences with, you'll go back to them over and over again. You know, even shopping online, you'll find out about a new online shopping website. You'll go to that website, and if you have a good experience, you'll keep going back to them over and over again. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I've had nothing but bad experiences with Amazon. I haven't, but they shouldn't limit what people are saying, especially when it comes to their reviews of the show. I mean, right now I'm looking at the star rating for the Rings of Power, and the show only has 3.5 stars. Let's see. I'm gonna read some more of your comments. Yeah, yeah. It should be more than enough to get you interested. Mhm. Yeah. That's how I approached it, you know? Me being a baseball fan, I'm not just a fan of, you know, everything's, Star Trek from '66 to 2005 or, you know, a yeah, can't even speak right now. A particular era of Doctor Who, mainly, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Christopher Eccleston, Peter Capaldi. But, I like Tom Baker, but it was during that era of Moffat's run with Doctor Who that I got interested. More specifically, it was the Matt Smith era that I got interested in Doctor Who, thanks to a good friend of mine who has been on this channel, King Phoenix. And Gap says, "Is anybody gonna watch Quantum Leap?" I, I, I don't. I have such fond memories of the original with Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. I don't know if I want to move on to a new series and you know see something that maybe I don't like and have it ruin that experience. Go into this new series expecting one thing and getting another thing and being unwilling or unable to accept it. Input says if you're not allowed to dislike the show after only 3 bad episodes, yeah, yeah, it's a shame. I mean, you go to any news website, and especially during the last change in power, and how sites like Yahoo were turning off their comment section because people were just going after each other, and people have forgotten that when you type something on the internet, it's there forever. It doesn't just go away. That's okay, Gap. Let's see. Yeah, there are shows that you do get hooked from the beginning. There's an anime series that I found not too long ago called Black Lagoon, and it was within the first few moments of watching it, I was hooked. I haven't finished it yet, but I was hooked on it. Even with The Mandalorian, I know some people have, you know, their thoughts and opinions on The Mandalorian, but even with episode 1 of The Mandalorian, I liked it. I liked it off the bat because it, you know, was basically a western in space. And as someone who also likes westerns, I could appreciate it. Let's see. Bucky's saying I always try to treat the customer well, even if I was having a bad day. It's not kind of go around ruining people's day, and sometimes having a nice experience with a rando person can make someone's day. Yeah, yeah, that's one thing that my mom had said to me, when I first started working, and I had some customers who were nice, some customers who were obviously having a bad day, and you know, there was a day where just at random, a customer went up to my manager and said, "You know, usually when I come here, I don't have a good experience, but Mike helped me out. He got me what I needed, and he made it the best experience that I've had in recent times at the store." And you know, it 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 lifts you up. It really does. It basically lets you know that there are people who are watching, who will notice. Even doing this YouTube thing, there are people who are watching and they will notice things. Yes. Yes. Geronimo. And Bucky says 9 and 10 were the only doctors I could really get into. 11 was good, but needed better writers, and I didn't like anything. You didn't like Amy trying to flirt with the doctor in front of her boyfriend, fiance, husband. Yeah, the Amy and Rory dynamic, they really, you know, they really need to make that their main focus. They're a couple after all, and I don't mean main focus have it take away from the doctor and what the doctor's doing, but when you focus on that relationship, make it the main focus. Don't make it where Amy Pond is flirting with the doctor. Yeah, yeah, and you know, there there's no guarantee Scott Bakula will even make a cameo appearance in the new series. It'd be nice if he came back, but there still needs to be closure with his journey, with Sam's journey. And let's see. Input latency says, "What I hear, Capaldi could have been one of the best doctors." Yeah, but he got the shaft. He certainly didn't lack enthusiasm and love for the role, but the writers just didn't deliver. No, they didn't. They delivered one bad story after another. Gap is saying, "I haven't seen The Mandalorian or Boba Fett or Obi-Wan. I'm always late to the party." Nothing wrong with being late to the party. And Bucky Icon is saying, "From what I remember, after Moffat left, all the writing went downhill." Yeah, and you could even argue, if you wanted to argue, that during Moffat's last years, that the writing was starting to go south while he was there. Input says, "Yep." And Kathy says, "Never watched Doctor Who, but might have to check it out." Definitely. And Bucky says, "Definitely start with 9. It's such a good show." And it's a shame that Christopher Eccleston didn't want to go any longer on Doctor Who. I would have loved to have seen what they could have done with his Doctor, in an extended run, but it only lasted a season. And Bucky is saying, "My sister didn't like Martha and had me skip that whole season. I watched it later and I was like, bro, there's so much important content, sorry, context, and it's so good. She said nothing important happened. Well, to each their own. But yeah, as far as this third episode, I, I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. But again, I don't have any intentions on continuing with the series right now. I might, and don't hold me to it, but I might go back and watch the remaining episodes after all is said and done and binge it. But I do want to let you know that this won't be the last episode of Pacific 4 episode review because I got Cobra Kai. And I've only watched 3 episodes, and spoiler alert, I'm liking it. But, how could you not like Cobra Kai? Every season has been good, and even though I'm only 3 episodes in the fifth season, I'm loving it. And let's see. Like Icom says, he only wanted to stay 1 season because his favorite doctor only had 1 season. I can't remember which. And he didn't want his doctor to get stale or anything. Okay. Here I thought it was, behind the scenes drama or something, you know, stupid like that. You will if you want to. You won't if you don't want to. Either way, it's fair. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, speaking of being a baseball fan, more particularly a Cubs fan, there have been some games where as soon as I see where it's headed, the Cubs could be trailing early in, the first inning by 5 runs. And there have been times I've continued to watch and they've been able to, get a few runs here, a few runs there, chip at the lead, but then there are games where the opposing team could score 7 runs in an inning, and you go, "Yeah, I see where this is going." I even did a recap with the box score where the game wasn't even over yet, but it was a game against the Pirates, and I saw where everything was going. I said, "Yeah, the Cubs, well, they lost. Yes, the game isn't over yet, but they lost tonight, and the Pirates are continuing to put on runs." And I got some people who didn't like it. Then I quote unquote gave up on the Cubs that night. But I'm thinking sometimes you gotta call it. You see where it's going, and you see that there's no coming back. So you just go on, move on, do something else. Let's see. Our old Chihuahua loved Karate Kid. We would show different movie options, and she would get excited when that would come on screen. I think of that when I hear of Cobra Kai. Yeah, see, good memories like that. It's like when I see the movie Memphis Belle come on TV, and that's a movie that my dad and I went and saw. And my dad actually liked it. No, it's not completely correct on what B-17 pilots experienced during World War II. But the fact that they used actual B-17s, the ones that were still flying at the time, and the fact that they paid respect to the conditions that those crews were put through in those B-17s as they made their bombing runs was real good. And I know it meant something special to my dad to see that movie because my grandfather was a B-17 pilot during the World War II. And one of the things I remember my dad doing before my grandfather passed away is my dad used to put together, model airplanes, model cars, you name it. If there was a model for it, he'd put it together. Well, he ended up putting together this model of a B-17. And thanks to referencing pictures that my grandfather had, he had asked my grandmother for those pictures, so my grandfather didn't know about it. And he painstakingly put all the markings of that plane onto this model that he made for my grandfather. And, you know, that's something, I haven't forgotten because I watched my dad painstakingly put it together to make sure that he had every detail right. And the look on my grandfather's face is something I'll never forget when he saw it. He looked at my dad and he says, "You did this for me?" And my dad's like, "Yeah, I know how important that time in your life was to you." And my grandpa really appreciated. He had actually put it on the mantle at my grandfather and grandmother's house and displayed it there proudly until he passed away and my grandmother moved out of that house. And let's see. I think of my dad when I watched Finding Nemo. He took us to see it in theaters and screamed when Bruce came on screen. Good times. Yes, Bruce. Fish are friends, not food. Speaking of Finding Nemo, a friend and I were going to the movies back in 2003, and we wanted to see Bruce Almighty, but it was sold out. So we looked at each other and said, "Okay, let's see if we can find another movie." And we were looking at the different movies that were playing, and we saw Finding Nemo. And we just looked at each other, and at first we weren't going to do it. At first we kind of looked at each other and said, "No, nah, we don't need to see a kids movie." And then you know, were thinking, well, this place isn't open until 9 o'clock, so we still got a lot of time before it opens. And it was this amusement park that we were going to. And with this amusement park, they didn't open it until later during the summertime because, the special events and everything that they were doing, especially that night. So we decided, okay, we got time to kill. Let's just go ahead and see Finding Nemo. We laughed our asses off. We kept laughing. I mean, there were probably more 20 something and 30 somethings in that auditorium that night than little kids who were all having a good time. We were laughing our asses off. Bucky is also saying that her husband loves B-17s. We have seen them. All right. Yeah. So you've probably seen the Sentimental Journey. I've actually seen that particular aircraft a couple times. One of the times being in Arizona for a spring training game, and then another time when it came to our area. I lived in the San Diego area, so it came to one of the local airports, and I got home from school one day, and my dad comes up to me because he had gotten home from work before I got home from school because the bus was taking longer. And he said, "Mike, how much homework do you have?" I said, "I just have a few things to do." He said, "Well, depending on when you get your homework done, I want to go down to the airport was called Palomar Airport and see the Sentimental Journey." So, you know, I got my homework done. I didn't just rush through it. I made sure I took my time going through my homework. And once it was done, we got in his truck, drove to Palomar Airport, and went on the Sentimental Journey. And there's also another time my dad and I went on a B-17. And I don't know how many of you have heard about this particular B-17, but unfortunately, 3 years ago, this October is, I think October 1st or 2nd, uh 2019. It was called the 909, and unfortunately, only 7 people survived this crash at an air show, and the rest of the passengers and crew who were on there for a little B-17 experience of flying in the aircraft, unfortunately lost their lives. But 20 years ago, while up in Richmond, Virginia, for a bombardment group reunion, the 486th Bombardment Group, which was part of what my grandfather was part of during World War II. Well, my dad and I went up there, and we ended up meeting my grandfather's navigator, who is the last surviving member of my grandfather's crew. And while we were up there in Richmond, Virginia, my dad had said, there's a B-24 and a B-17 at the local airport here. So, this is similar to when the Sentimental Journey came to our local airport when we lived in California. And he said, "You want to go while we're at the 486 bombardment group to see it?" And I said, "Yeah, why not?" So we go, we meet the main pilot, and we go on there. And anytime I've been on a B-17, whether it was the Sentimental Journey or the 909, it's always a fascinating step into history to see what conditions those guys had to go through. Because for anybody who's been inside a B-17 or any bomber, especially from the World War II era, you know how cramped those quarters are. There's not a lot of room. You know, you have the gunners. They're back to back. There's not a lot of room. And of course you have the ball turret gunners. And who wants to be a ball turret gunner? But there were guys who risked it. And even the tail gunners. But going through the 909, and seeing the original equipment that was there, yes, you could tell where they added, some modern equipment, especially, you know, the pilot and co-pilot seats. But to step through history, it's something, and it makes you appreciate history and appreciate what all the men and women did during that time. And it's always been something that's stuck with me because you got to meet some of the men and women from that time who served during World War II, or, did what they had to do during World War II to help out the country. And I've always appreciated that. And let's see. Gap says, yes, Memphis Belle is an excellent movie. Hmm. The most terrifying thing in the world, an Australian. Good day, mate. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, yeah, they are great memories to have, and they're memories I hope I never forget. Hmm. Yeah, a crew of 6, sometimes you had 7. Mhm. Yeah, because y I know as kids, we probably weren't too thrilled to go into a museum, but, you know, a museum, especially a history museum, is a time capsule. It really is. It allows you to step through the past and learn about the past. So I'm gonna highlight that comment one more time. And Kathy says that she enjoys museums too. And I also wanted to go ahead and mention something as well. And I know I haven't said anything in my Discord about it, and I haven't mentioned it on social media, but I also want to take this time to thank each and every one of you for subscribing to the channel because yesterday morning I woke up and I saw that the channel was at 300 subscribers. And very quickly, somebody had subscribed. I don't know who because we can keep our subscriptions private if we want to, but it was at 301, and then today it's at 303. So I want to thank each and every one of you. I probably will do some sort of celebration stream. I'm not really keen on doing celebration videos, but I'll probably do a celebration stream at some point. I don't know when, but you're all invited. You're all invited to come on and just just chill. Yeah, I could definitely do that. I know I wouldn't rush through it, and it'd probably be one of those obvious things where you do have to do a lot of research and just find interesting information. Of course, it would have information that quite a few people would know about, but also who knows? You might find information that nobody knows about doing stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, call me boring if you want, but there are times on YouTube I'd rather watch something about history, and especially during World War II or even the Vietnam War, and hear from those men and women who were over there. You know, talk about their experience. Now, unfortunately, we have very few you know veterans still alive from World War II, but we we should always learn from history. We may not agree from history, but we should always learn from it and make sure that mistakes of the past aren't repeated. All right. I think that's everything. Yes. Don't forget to like the video. And, you know, as far as whether or not there's could be a giveaway during that 300 subscriber stream, I don't know yet. I'm still trying to plan things out. So I don't know when that actual stream's gonna happen, but I will promise you, even if there's not a giveaway, you're all invited to come on the panel and we can all talk. And as far as next month's theme stream is concerned, well, here's the idea I have in my head. Yes, the gears are always turning in this head. But next month, it's going to be a Saturday stream. And the reason why there's no Saturday stream for this month, but there will be for next month, is because Thursday was the 56th anniversary of Star Trek, and I wanted to do that stream on that day, which was very successful, thanks to all of you. But for next month, I want to do a get to know you stream. Whether you have a YouTube channel or not, it's going to be a stream where, yeah, it's going to be similar to the 300 subscriber stream. But in this case, we can find out about everybody's likes, everybody's dislikes, our interests, our hobbies, find out about other people's channels. So that's what's going through my head right now. Okay, I'll definitely look for that movie. And see, that's what I appreciate when these, different production companies go through and painstakingly try to restore footage that is thought to be lost, or they actually find footage from you know that particular era or any particular era where there's actually video documentation or even photographs, and painstakingly try to restore those photos. Well, he's a good director. I mean, when you have a good director and a good script, can turn out a good product. I mean, you know, talking about World War I and World War II, there's one movie I actually saw with Chaos, who many of you know as TKO of the DDoD, Digital Department of Defense. But we had actually gone to see We Were Soldiers when I went back out to California to visit my grandmother and visit him and a few other friends. And, you know, that movie had an impact because I had started thinking about my uncle who did come back from Vietnam, but, you know, he was never the same, according to my dad. He, he says, yes, your uncle is a good man, but he's not the same man that he was when he went to Vietnam, because that war, just like World War II, Korean War, and many other wars, it changes people because of what they see. And let's see, Gap saying we could do that. Well, we can definitely do that. I would like, and I'll mention it tomorrow on Pop Talk as well. I would like to do another Transformers stream because I did one several months ago with Pop Culture Mechanic, and I would like to have Pop Culture Mechanic come back and have a few other guests who are fond of Transformers, whether it's G1, Beast Wars, any of the Japanese Transformers series. You had several Transformers series that were done in Japan and then dubbed here for the States, but I'd like to do that. And I was also thinking while playing the Cowabunga collection, of course, playing Shredder's Revenge, that I would maybe do a 35th anniversary stream for the animated series of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the 87 series. And Bucky saying, "Ooh, that would be cool." Nothing wrong with being a sucker for history. All right. So, as far as this episode was concerned, 2.5 out of 5. And I appreciate everybody being here. I think now's a good time to wrap it up. But first, let me read this comment from Gap. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll definitely keep you guys up to date as to when one's going to happen and when the other's going to happen. And let's see, did I miss anything? Yes, yes. I spoiler. I'd already planned to mention something about tomorrow being the 21st anniversary of 9/11. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this: if anybody wants to pop in when, because I am probably gonna talk about 9/11 a little bit. I just ask everybody to be respectful, whatever your beliefs are. Just please be respectful. But yes, never forget. And at this time, I don't want to forget you guys and gals out there. And I'm going to take the time to thank each of every one of you for being here. Gap After Dark, thank you for being here. Kathy Skywalker, thank you for being here. Bucky Icom, thank you for being here. The input, where are you, brother? There you are. Input, thank you for being here. And we had Crit. Just got to find his name by scrolling up. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And don't worry, in the review portion, all this will be edited out. But if you want to watch it again, it will still be in this portion. All right, there you are, Crit. Thank you very much, Crit, for being here tonight. And let's see. Because he was here, and I'm going to acknowledge him. All right, Phil, where are you? Where are you? Go to the top. So I don't miss anybody else. I'm scrolling to the top. There you are, Phil. Thank you, Phil McCracken. Really appreciate it. All right, and we also had Brandon Looney Tunes fans 2000, and he's at 794 subs, so he's only 6 away from 800. Yeah, how about that? 206 away from 1,000. He's getting there. And let's see. Yes, everybody, please have a good rest of your Saturday night. I appreciate all of you spending some time here with me as I watched and reacted to the third episode of The Reigns of Power. Greatly appreciate it. I appreciate your support very much. And I will see you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for Pacific 414 Pop Talk if you have the time to be here. And of course, if you already have something planned, and of course, with it being Sunday, go spend it with your family. Go spend it with your family. Go spend it with your friends. If an opportunity comes up to go out somewhere and have some fun on a Sunday afternoon or even Sunday evening, do it. So thank you all again. And I will see you all in the morning. Take care.